Hello everyone, I am Zacargo and welcome back to From the Depths. We've got a bit of a build episode going on here. Now I've been trying to think about how exactly I want to structure some of the larger builds or some of the more complicated builds, and I know a couple people mentioned that they like to watch tutorials and or they want me to go into more depth about how and why I build stuff. So I came up with a bit of a format and I'm going to try it out here and help you guys let me know if you like it or if you absolutely hate it. Either way, just let me know, because I'll do it different if you don't like it. But basically, when I was learning From the Depths, and I still have a lot to learn, I still am learning, but when I was actively watching YouTube tutorials, I noticed that a lot of the tutorials I would watch, someone would build an efficient cannon and then they would just explain to me why it was efficient. And I would try to copy that, and it wasn't really useful information, because you know that you need your coolant, your recoil to match your fire rate, and you know that you want your shell load speed to be approximately your fire rate, and you know all of this, but actually getting it balanced is a bit of a trick. And turns out a lot of APS guns, if you just glue them together, if you tune them correctly, can actually be pretty decent, even if they're not perfectly efficiently set up. More so, you have to know how to tune them. And so what I figured was going for a little bit of a more almost live approach, a pseudo live approach, wherein I just take you guys through the whole build. You can build along with me if you want to, or you along whatever. Something where I explain it, and when I make a mistake, I show you. You see how I go back and fix it. When I need to retune it, you see how I tune it. So I figure something like that could be really useful. It was what I was looking for when I was looking for tutorials, and it's not what I found. So this is going to be a slower format. You guys will have to let me know if you actually like that. Now, we've started with a little bit of an AI core. It's worth noting this is going to be a sub-vehicle. It does not need to have very strong detections. It's going to be picking its main target based off of what I direct from my bridge and what the main carrier craft detects. So the main carrier is going to have an inter-vehicle transmitter. The only thing this thing really needs to have is a bit of a rangefinder and perhaps some fine-tuning detection equipment of itself to help it aim, but it doesn't need a full suite of detection. So yeah, to start with, I'm going to give myself a 7x7 space for the turret. I'm thinking about making a short little stumpy turret and just putting it behind this AI compartment, and yeah, we're gonna start there. So what you're seeing here is I'm just making and tuning space that I'm setting aside for the turret of this main craft. This thing is going to be a hover tank. It's basically going to be an AI, a couple of engines, a single main turret, and then whatever it needs for mobility added onto that. So I might as well talk a little bit about how I'm armoring this thing. I try to avoid using single blocks, and if I have to split up stuff, so like right there you notice that I alternated a 3 armor beam and a 2 armor beam because it was a little bit better, and then I go back and say, you know what, screw that, I'm just gonna go double thick for the 2 armor beams. Basically, the takeaway here is that you could have 2 individual blocks with their health pool, or you could combine their health pool into a single larger block. What's kind of cool about this is AIs target a specific block, and it doesn't matter the size of the block. So if you use a beam, it's just as likely to get targeted as a standard block. So by using the largest piece available to you, you make it less likely for something to target that spot. Now, when it comes to design philosophy, a lot of people have different things, and it's going to come down to how you build as to what the actual best way for you to build a craft is. I find that for me, what works is setting a set of constraints and then just making something within those constraints. So I've given myself an AI and a turret compartment, and out of this I'm going to make a hover tank. And the APS may not be ideal. It may not be big enough. It may not have enough fire rate. Who knows? But I've set my constraints, and I'm just going to work with this. Everything from here is adapt to fit. So I'm going to build the gun. I'm just going to build a gun. It's going to go in that hole. And then I'm going to have the core of my craft. I'm going to have to figure out how to keep it flying. And I'm going to have to improvise the engines from there. Already, it's sitting at 60... Really? It is sitting at 65 tons. Wow. That is heavy already. And it's sitting at 10,000 materials. It doesn't even have a gun on it yet. It's literally just a block of armor. But that's fine. We'll have to see where it goes from here. As far as the gun, let's take a look at the space that we have here. We should optimize this space a little bit more. And the way to do that is going to be to drop the local weapon controller down one. We're going to change the armor scheme here just a little bit to allow us that space. Drop the receiver in here, drop the failsafe in here, and put the turret back down. Now, APS. Trying to make a good APS is always don't worry about making a good APS. Worry about making a functional APS. That's really what you should do. I'm gonna start by doing this. Gives me a few gauge increasers to work with. Gives me a few other things to work with. In fact, let's switch this to a 5-way connector just because you never know what's gonna happen. And then we're gonna drop down a firing piece. Now to start with, this gives us one 293 millimeter barrel. So honestly, the best thing to do from this stage is to start working on your shell. And we're gonna put that in the AI compartment. We're gonna make some space by doing that. And then we're gonna go over here, drop down an ammo controller, drop down 2 customizers, put a single head, and we're gonna look at the length of the shell for a 290. This is already a 3-meter casing because it's over 2 meters. How about now 2,900 on the dot, actually. Okay. That's not bad. How much space do we have in here? We have 3 meters of vertical space. So if we wanted to do an autoloader, we could do a 3-meter autoloader. All right. And then there's 2 ways to do this. You can either do an autoloader with an ammo clip, or you can do more autoloaders. To be honest, I find it depends on how quickly the shells load versus your fire rate. If you basically, you only use the autoloaders until you've hit your... If your gun is a very slow firing gun, you don't need to use shells, and you might be able to get an increase in fire rate by using just autoloaders with ammo inputs attached to them. It's a very inefficient way to do it, but sometimes with the space you're working with, it can be the best. In general, you want to go for clips, but that's if you have high cooling. If you don't have high cooling, then go for autoloaders and convert some of your gauge snake into cooling. So, like, what you can do is put this here. I'll put a gauge increaser in, and then I'll go back to cooling. And we'll do a corner. We'll do another splitter. Actually, we'll just do this. There we go. So this is a good way to add a whole bunch of cooling into your gauge snake. To start with, just going to drop down some autoloaders in the space that I have, and then I'm going to see if the turret turns, because I don't remember exactly what the constraints on that are. Okay. Do I have a dock on this thing? Alright, let's get this thing docked. It looks like I don't have one, so let's just put one down. Apply selection. If you don't have a gantry to build stuff, I recommend making something. I really like it. Anyway. I also recommend using the copy-paste function. I can just do that and boom. There we go. Very important to make sure that your turret rotates. Oh god. Okay, it cannot. Which means we need to fix it. It's probably need to be there and there. Okay, turret can rotate. Now, gonna go back down to this level. What we can do is we can fill in where are they at? Ammo input feeders. I'm gonna fill this whole thing with ammo input feeders. Same thing for over here. And then we'll put some recoil absorbers down here. Or we'll continue the gauge snake. I think actually continuing the gauge snake is probably the best way to go. Go back up here. When it comes to the mantlet, it's easy to look at the elevation mantlet and say that that's the one, the 3 meter elevation mantlet, and say that that's the one that you want. I would either recommend the 1 meter elevation mantlet in a situation like this, or the AA mantlet. Specifically, the AA mantlet is always nice because it means that your thing will be able to shoot up far enough. I'm going to go with the AA mantlet here for that exact reason, and I'm going to start the barrel with a bit of a... I'm going to start with a bore evacuator and a 2 meter heavy barrel, and then some normal barrels, and a 2 meter muzzle brake because I really like the look of it. You should make sure that your barrel is long enough, but honestly, I like a bit of a longer barrel anyway, so I pretty much always go. Whenever you're doing APS, always set the required accuracy down. And we're going to set all of these to that. We're also going to check and see if this works at 293, and it does. As far as what kind of shell we're going for, to start with, I'm thinking about a squash head, but that's just to start with. The important thing is we should test out the fire rate. In order to do that, we need to drop some ammo down and some material down. Hey, that's not bad. That is not bad at all. Okay, it has 30 shells and it's capable of firing at 45 RPM. Loading time 22 seconds. Okay, it could actually do with some more cooling. It could definitely do with some more cooling. It also needs some recoil control. So, yes! Very nice. Oh, I am loving that. It's also worth noting, there's a lot of gunpowder in here, which is artificially extending the barrel cooldown for a shell like this. If we were to change this to something like that, it should go up in fire rate if we clear the clips. Oh, it'll take it probably 20 seconds to load. So we'll come back to test that. And to start with, we're going to need to add some recoil absorbers. Alright, and I'm going to leave that here for this first video. So yeah, the idea for here is for it to be a bit of like a casual, highly edited stream and condensed down stream. So I'll pick this up. I'm going to keep going with this until we finish the gun, and probably until we finish the craft. And these little 15-minute episodes that are supposed to sort of feel like a highly edited stream. That's the idea. Hopefully, if you're interested in the part of the vehicle that I'm actually building, then these videos are right up your alley. But, you know, who knows? Maybe the reason that I haven't seen these on YouTube is because nobody wants to watch this. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you think. If you think this is too slow and you think I should condense it more, or if you think this is just right. For me, I think a video like this is exactly what I was looking for when I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm hoping that to to people who are struggling with making decent APSs, I hope that this is useful. Anyway, I've been Zacargo, this has been fun, and I'll see you soon with the next building of this hover tank. Bye.